those big proper test matches, they're always decided on a bounce of a ball or a kick here and there. So look, we're delighted to get the win. I think we were a little bit lucky at times as well, but hopefully we'll just keep improving now.
What a man. Not you, Donal, even though you look great. You've been basking in the Mediterranean by the look of you. Tell us about it.
It has been incredible. I mean, you spoke about the privilege of being there on Saturday night up in my perch, and you have the best seat in the house in the commentary position. Atmosphere is incredible, but this has been building for the last 2 weeks. I've been lucky enough to be out there since prior to the opening game in Bordeaux. You go on that journey up through La Rochelle. Thousands of people in the old town in La Rochelle hoping for a glimpse of the god Ronan O'Gara.
The grotto outside his house.
Exactly. Up then to Nantes for the middle game, and the crowd is building all the time. It's actually an emotional experience. But Saturday night was off the charts. I don't know how many thousands of Irish were there. I go back, prior to this, I was lucky enough to be in Eden Park 2011 when we beat Australia, the first time we took that big Southern Hemisphere scalp. But back in those days, it was the young Irish diaspora who'd left after the noughties and the financial meltdown, who sort of gathered emotionally in New Zealand. This was different. It looked as if every man, woman and child was there. And that atmosphere has been building. And to be fair, both Johnny Sexton and Andy Farrell
referenced. Look at that for a dad dance, that's chronic.
But when you see Peter doing that, I mean, we saw Johnny Sexton smiling in the game against Tonga. There's something going on out there. But,
go on about the emotional thing, because look, I mean, we're in the middle of it now, and we kind of got to take a break as well, which is kind of frustrating. But, you know, there's no comparisons with anything else. But when a sporting event captures the island's imagination, it's special, and this has worked.
It is, and you know, I was playing for Ireland when the Jack Charlton era was there, and I wondered, you know, would the country ever get behind a rugby team like they did in those days? But I've witnessed it now. I've seen this building, and but this is just off the charts. And it's not just people turning up, it's people making a contribution. Johnny Sexton and Andy Farrell referenced it. All the key moments of the game, you know, winning a scrum penalty. The reaction from the crowd was unbelievable. People understood exactly the key incidents during the game. I mean, the response when Peter O'Mahony won Ireland's fifth line-out, having won 4 before that, you'd swear we'd scored a try under the post.
Yeah.
It was that kind of an evening. It was just special to be there. The only downside is there was no cup handed out after that game.
I'm glad you ended on that, because that is the context. We're allowed to kind of enjoy the waft of it for another day or two, but then it's back to normality and a 7-week tournament. But there's something just elemental. You respond to the performance of 23 players that leave everything behind them. There was nothing saved for themselves. It was such a kind of performance of mental bravery as well as the obvious physical stuff.
Yeah, and it was funny. I haven't been lucky to be out just yet, but listening to Donal and, you know, watching it, I was almost caught between a rock and a hard place, because part of me was thinking, that's the most special Irish rugby occasion I ever remember, I've ever seen in 36 years. Like, I've never seen a moment. And then I thought, oh, flip, it's actually, there's nothing for it. You know, will that moment be remembered if we don't get past the quarter-final? Worldwide, we'll probably be known as the team that celebrated winning a group game. So yeah. I did have a harsh reality of, you know, I just hope they kick on. But it was very, very special. It was
I agree, but the magic has to last, because, I mean, every player, you say, well, we're going to enjoy this tonight and then we'll think... And I presume we're entitled to do the same. You have to enjoy these moments.
Yeah, listen, and as a rugby public and as pundits, we're allowed to. We're allowed to be over-enthusiastic. We're allowed to be excited. I think the timing is perfect. I think the group will have a few days. It's great to see the likes of Peter O'Mahony showing a bit of personality, the grumpy owl lad. That's brilliant. We want to see that. A few days off, and I think as a rugby public we can dream. Do I believe the team will be dreaming? No, I think they'll be focused. Scotland.
And it's as a public, it's not even as a rugby public anymore. I suppose that's the whole thing. Look, anyway, we won't go down
but
there.
Even I think the 2-week break is important for 2 reasons. Number one, the obvious one, the physical attrition that you get after that game. They were out on their feet, they were exhausted. Thankfully, amazingly, no serious injury.
Was that good for the game, just pivoting slightly? I mean, you know, OK, South Africa, magnificent team, have everything going for them, bar place kicker, we'll come back to that maybe, but was it good for overall that it wasn't won by the physically superior team? And I mean physically superior in terms of kgs.
I think it was, because when you look at it, okay, we were under serious pressure in the areas where physique matters. Our scrum was under pressure at various points during the game. Our line-out, when you have 4 fellas who stand over 6'8", then your line-out is going to come under pressure. But we found other ways to win the game.
Yes.
That was important. The other thing I think that was important was, given the physicality and all the attention on head injuries and all of that, there was no TMO intervention, there was no yellow cards, there was no red cards, which just shows that the 2 best teams in the world, technically, they could, their efficiency in the tackle
they
and
could
in
go
around
at it
the
properly,
break.
but
Absolutely.
not dirt.
Exactly. And so from that point of view, I think it was a classic game.
It was a classic.